hopefully a speed run here. I don't have long to do this. This is a Columbus Model 5M from about 1954. Actually, we can check that because Columbus serial numbers will tell us. 52, in fact. Serial number on a Columbus or a Courtney set, the first digit is the year. So this one is from 1952. I really like these. They're a really nice little set. 5 valve, broadcast only. They look good, I think, and they tend to go reasonably well. They have a wee loop antenna inside them. You can see here that's drifting about. They normally have a bit of Paxilin or something in there, but that's obviously been taken out and someone's put a bit of plastic in, so that's floating around. Other than that, pretty standard design. There's nothing flash in them. They do have an electromag speaker. Columbus or Radio Corp were using electromag speakers long after everyone else had given up, so there's a little 5-inch EM speaker in there. This one's a repair for someone that's coming to pick it up tomorrow. It's nearly dinner time, so I'm going to crack into this and you can follow along in real time, and yeah, this should hopefully be a one-hit wonder. I'm not going to probably talk too much unless I swear, but original screws still there. But yeah, let's do it. So all we're going to do here is basically give it a there's a word I'm looking for and the word is gone from my brain. Just a recap and a quick health check. So this was purchased in an unknown state, and so the owner just wants me to have a look and make sure it's safe to use. And so that's what we're going to do. So like I said, chassis is pretty basic. Loop antenna, EM speaker, speakers in good nick, which is good. I'll talk about these EM speakers at some point, but they have a tie-in with a guy called Jack Jensen. They're not Jensen speakers, but they all have patents applied to them which look like Jensen patents, but they're not. Jack Jensen and Peter L. Jensen, different guys. One thing to note, they've got a spring-loaded top pulley for the dial cord, so when you put them upside down the cord goes floppy. Just be careful that you don't disrupt the cord. So this is pretty much as I would expect to have seen it from the factory, with the possible exception of a couple of things here. These look like they could be original factory electrolytics. So that's interesting to see. So that capacitor which has been put in is melted all to buggery. Looks like whoever put it in used a soldering iron right past the body of it and has melted it. So it probably wasn't much of a replacement in the grand scheme of things. So we're looking at a 16 mic there and an 8 mic there, so 15 and 10. There, sort of 15 down the back of the bench. So we'll take that out there. does not need to run all the way across there to that tag, and in fact it would be incredibly difficult to do so, so we'll see how we're going to reach. That's going to be awkward. That might work. I'll just put that tag strip in under here, give this a bit of a polish up, and we'll just solder it to the earth tag. And I'll be able to do that for both of these caps, and then run wires across to these 2 points. So definitely not a restoration, this is a repair. These radios are quite common, but they are quite nice, so if you find yourself with an opportunity to own one, the Courtney model is basically identical but with a slightly plainer cabinet. But otherwise it's the same radio. Courtney, I think from memory, is called the Tiki, the model, or that might be the Model 12. Don't have my stuff in front of me, and been doing a lot of Courtney and Columbus research lately, and the models are just starting to blur a little bit in my head. Alright, that's pretty well soldered onto that tag. It's not the most beautiful job in the world, but like I said, we're doing a speed run here. Not doing a crap job, I just don't have time to muck about. Alright, so our 10 needs to come from here. And our 15 needs to come from here. Don't think there's any easy way to do that, so we'll just run it to the tag strip and wire them across. I was working on another video to release on an Ultimate Portable, but that set actually turned completely to custard, and there was just way too much swearing in the video. Well, there wasn't swearing in the video actually, well there was a bit. That wasn't why I ended up not releasing it. It's just it got very hard very quickly, turned to custard, and it was just too hard to film and get that right at the same time, so I gave up on filming it. So maybe another day. It wasn't particularly interesting, it was just bloody annoying. Stick a little bit of E-trink on there. So this model from memory, there's 4 different versions. There's the original Model 5, which is all octal. There is the 5A, I think, which is half octal, half miniature. Now, I could be getting this wrong. I am doing this purely from memory. And the 5B and the 5M are all miniature. And it was the last small radio from Columbus to feature a wooden cabinet. After this they went to plastic cabinets, and then after that things went downhill badly in all kinds of ways. They weren't actually really Columbus's after that either. Well, they probably were to a certain degree, but there was a lot of AWA in Australia input. So you find a lot of the plastic case radios from this point on actually look like Australian radios, because they effectively are. So I consider this the last really good small Columbus radio. It's not the last good one, it's just the last one I particularly like. Okay, so that is in and done, and we just need to wire it across. Here's some wire I prepared earlier. Some wire I took out of a set earlier, but it's perfect for what I need. Solid core red HT wire. Yeah, I'm probably going to pigtail that onto this stub, because that point is pretty excessively overdone, and knowing Columbus, this will be looped around and very difficult to get off. It's quite thick wire, which will make it an absolute nightmare. to do the other one. Out of this bit of wire, unfortunately. Strippers. Now, just a point, if anyone's looking for John, I wondered why I hadn't seen any videos from him, and I hadn't actually watched his last one where he explained why. He's moved across to Library, which is now called Odyssey, I think. LBRY, another video sharing platform, which I'm on as well, but down here in New Zealand it's not the best. Very stuttery, very hard to get a decent playing experience. I would probably use it more if it weren't for that, which I'm sure will get better in time, but the thing that might move me across there is the recent rule change in YouTube where they're going to insert ads into any YouTube video they like. Regardless of whether you're monetized or not, they're going to take advertising revenue from you. And part of me thinks, well, fair enough, they've got a multi-million-dollar bill every day, I'm sure, for bandwidth and what have you, and you know, they've spent many years perfecting that service, but then they're making a shit ton and they don't need more. Well, obviously they do need more, but I don't want to give them more of mine, I guess is the point. But I may end up having to. So, I don't know, maybe I just need to start off all my videos with a few choice words that will make it unmonetizable. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe they thought of that already and have a solution for my solution. Don't know, we'll see how it goes. I personally can't stand ads. I'll watch ads at the start of a monetized channel's video, and I'll possibly watch them at the end as well, but mid-roll ads I always skip. If their advertising policy gets too annoying, then there's a really good chance that I'm actually going to start using ad block, which is difficult on my TV, which is where I watch most of my YouTube these days, because it's the built-in YouTube app. But I have a little computer hooked up to that TV, so I can always use that for YouTube, and I can add block on that, no problem. First world problems though, eh? Alright, so what we should have here now is, that was the 8 mic, it's now a 10 to ground. That was a 16, which is now a 15 to ground. So slightly less on the first cap, but realistically that was 16 plus or minus 20% at least. So you know, it could be plus or minus 3 microfarads on that. this 15 is probably a lot more accurate. It will be fine. So we've got that, we've got the 10, that's in place. So we've done those. This I think is a 0.1. Might be a 0.01 because it looks like that goes on to the audio side. We'll take that out and measure it. These black tube caps are a pain in the ass because they're generally not marked. But it will need replaced. These two will need replaced. I'm going to replace that, and the value's been melted right off. Maybe I'm just being a little bit lazy and not pulling up the info. There we go. So that's the one we want. And so that runs from, oh god, where does it run from? Green wire, I think this goes up to the volume control. So it's actually, given that that's shielded, it probably is the volume one, so it's probably a 0.01. It's probably that one right there. But we can check that green wire, does that go to the wiper of the volume pot, which is up the top. Green wire does go to the wiper of the volume pot. Okay, so that is almost certainly a 0.01. 0.05, that's probably also a 0.05. So they are easy enough to replace. This one, feck. Can't actually see. Up with these sockets, that's a pain. One, two, three, four, 5, pin 6 of what will probably be the output valve. Pin 6 is the screen grid. Being tetrode, it's this one here, 0.01 mic across the output. That's going to be what that is. Something's not ringing true here though. There's a 470k resistor to ground from that pin as well, which makes me think it might be the grid, which would make that the coupling cap, which will make it a 0.01 all the same. $250k, $250k, yeah, that's the coupling cap. So it's a 0.01. It's not off the pin I thought it was. pin 7, which is the grid. Okay, and actually now I look at it, it is pin 7. Alright, so that's a 0.01, that's a 0.01. That's a mustard cap, it will be fine. That is the cathode bypass perhaps, which is not shown on the schematic. What pin are we looking at? Pin 2. Cathode. So cathode bypass cap's been added in. It looks okay. I'm actually probably going to leave that one. Don't get a hefty workout. We'll see how it sounds.
Dinner in 10?
Perfect. I'll try and be done in 10. Alright, now we have an excuse to go faster. Right, a couple of 0.01s. Pigtail lovers of the world unite. That's good. Let's see how easy we get this out. It is looped a little bit. So lightly tacked on the other one, it just broke off. So got to get it from there. rusted cap's going to be a little bit hard to see. I can see why this one was tacked on, because the tag on the socket is pretty busy with stuff, but generally if I have to tag on, I'll try and wrap around a wee bit, which is what I'm going to try and do here without wrecking stuff. And then when you solder it, it'll go loose, but the puddle of solder will hold it in place. Yeah, I know. It's not aviation grade soldering, but it is solid, it will be reliable, and as long as it's not subjected to crazy vibration, it will be just fine. Okay, so that one's in. Those we're going to leave. Need a 0.05 and probably another 0.05. These ones have definitely been a bit melty. 0.05. My usual cap supplier sent me my replacement 0.05s. Now my 0.05s normally are about the size of this one. These ones are enormous, so they're actually sending me some more, because for the Pacific resto I'm doing, these won't actually fit inside the reproduction bodies. So I had a word to them, and they've got some that are a smaller body size they're going to send out. I'm not quite sure what happened to these ones. I've never seen 0.05s being this big, that weren't like 2 kV, 2000 volt types, and I'm wondering if these were rejected 2000 volt 0.05s that have somehow been rebranded. They are just Chinese caps, but I've found them to be really quite reliable. Just a little bit too quick here. Let's stop and give it a clean. Often these stub wires, if you get them close enough to the body of the cap, they've been surrounded by wax pretty much their whole life. They solder pretty well. Now, you may do this differently, you may do it better. You are certainly expected to. 105 and this one. May actually be able to put this one in tidily. So that's in there, that's in. So at this point, I think we've got everything we need to get. I'll take that stub off. We'll just double check there's not one sneakily hiding on the top. Nope. Alright then. Bring the dim bulb in, light bulb, and get rid of some of the light. A little flare, nicely dim. Promising.
Expecting the Cavaliers' performance from the winless Waratahs.
We're going to make sure our game's on and really
on this holiday weekend and stick.
It is holiday weekend, it's Queen's birthday weekend here. We've got a bit of slippage on the dial cord, I'll have a look at that.
Magic Jukebox.
Racing to fix a broken stormwater pipe.
Yep, with a sig gen.
Timetable to ensure the job's done by Tuesday morning.
Alright, well, that's not bad, given it was running on low voltage. Happy with that. So there we go. There's the repair of a Columbus Model 5M, notable for being one of the few sets, particularly in New Zealand anyway, still using an electromag speaker in the 50s. Pretty much everyone else had moved on a few years earlier to permanent magnet speakers. Certainly Roller, who were the major speaker manufacturer in New Zealand, besides Radiocorp, who were making their own speakers. Roller had moved on to permanent mag speakers, and Radiocorp did follow through 1954-55, around there I think they started switching over. So these are little small 5-inch ones. They're quite good, they sound good. We'll talk about them at some point. I'll pull a couple out and have a look. And that, we're done. Thanks for watching.